Buddy, good morning. Good morning. Thursday morning, September the 5th. Rise and shine, rise and shine. Hey, not much shine. We'll see if we can't find some sun shining on our Tower Cam network. But in the meantime, good morning to you. Rise and shine. This is Coffee Talk. We get together just about 7 days a week at 8 o'clock in the morning, or if a day like today where I have to stop and get creamer on my way home because I haven't had coffee yet, then here we are. But at any rate, this is Coffee Talk. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Wesh 2 First Warning Meteorologist Eric Burris. A live look outside showing a damp, dank start to our morning. Yeah, this is a live look outside on our Tower Cam network down around the tourist district. I wish it was a little sunnier, but here we are. Downtown Orlando, not much different. Let's head over to the beaches. New Smyrna Beach. Lots of clouds over top of you. Yep. Kennedy Space Center. Where's that button? There's that button. We'll see what's doing here. Yep. We've got Falcon 9 on the path. We've got one off of the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station that should go up here shortly, I believe. This is Polaris Dawn, which should go up now this weekend. Is that it? I think that's it. Port Canaveral looking pretty good. All right. So that's kind of where we're at. Low clouds, lots of moisture around Central Florida, right? Yeah. All right. Let's take a look and see how our first warning live Doppler radar is scanning. Quiet in the metro, relatively speaking. Let me zoom in just a little bit here. Yeah, there are some showers down here around like Kissimmee, Lake Hart, Lake Mary Jane. Some more rain off the shoreline, right? And I'm curious if that rain over by the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station is going to delay it. I'm going to be honest, I've been in dad mode all morning, so I haven't much been monitoring things. Ooh, that's the first sip of coffee. Needs to continue to warm up. Bleh. At any rate, we've got some showers this morning, just as expected. Temperatures kind of hanging in the 70s, but look at this forecast. Not only do we have more rain this morning, a couple of showers, but we get again into widespread rains. It's going to be heavy downpours today, a 70% coverage of rain. And as a matter of fact, that's why once again today we're calling it impact weather. Just to give you an idea, when we talk about impact weather, the biggest concern here is going to be, once again, the localized flooding. My pool is completely filled to the top. Completely filled to the top. Good times. Here's some of the rainfall numbers from yesterday. And what's so interesting, like this is where I live. Howell Creek off Dyke Road. I went to Tuscaloosa Middle School. I went to Lake Howell, which is right at Dodden. Like this is my where I grew up area. 7 or so inches of rain in spots, almost, and I would say that it probably got to 8 inches because these were the rainfall numbers that I punched in yesterday. And then when I left, more rain fell overnight. So let's just swap over to the Doppler radar estimates, and that's 6 hours. Let me change that to 24 hours. Yeah, so that's a lot of areas in yellow, right? A lot of areas getting a lot of rain, but there were definitely kind of two little bullseyes here, areas highlighted in red. These are areas, we'll just go like near Bear Gully Lake, 7 inches of rain near Lake Howell High School, 5.7, 6.3 near the southern shore there of Lake Howell, 5 on the northern shore of Lake Howell. But look up around like Altamont Springs, getting into 6.5 or so inches of rain. So yeah, a very significant rain yesterday. My house, let's see, how much rain did I get? 4.73 inches of rain yesterday and almost a half inch of rain today because it poured overnight. There you go. Other spots like Forest City getting 3.5, Wekiva Springs getting almost 5 inches of rain. Yeah, Lockhart getting 3.5. And then I saw another maximum up here around near the Sanford Airport, my home away from home. Along the 417, yeah, 5 inches of rain. Fox Quarry Lane, 5.4. Lake Mary at about 3 inches of rain. Magnolia Park, 5 inches, which is out near the airport there. 4.5 out near the airport there. Midway coming in at about 2.8 inches of rain. So yeah, yep, got lots of rain. Why don't we pump the excess water into the ocean? I mean, it all flows into the groundwater, and it ends up being the water that we drink, the water that does go out into the ponds and estuaries and things like that. Now, for today, we are again watching the threat for flooding all across central Florida, mainly inland of Brevard County, but I would just say all across central Florida. Then for tomorrow, the biggest soaking rains will probably be a little further to the north. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Now, here's what's interesting, okay? Because and we'll get into the rainfall hour by hour look on Futurecast in a minute, but this is what I think is interesting. So as I'm watching this happening yesterday in the Weather Center, Manalfi's like, "Oh man, I wonder how this is going to do for the drought." And Manalfi, Marquise, and I start talking. So let me pull up if I spelled it correctly. So let's chat a little bit about the rainfall, because this is where like the sweet irony of life plays in. So you've got areas that are getting like 7, 8 inches of rain, right? The official reporting station for Orlando is at Orlando International Airport. Orlando International Airport got less than a half inch of rain yesterday. So when you look at the data, not only are we're on the 5th day of September, so we're actually in a deficit for the month, but yeah, we are still 10 inches behind where we should be for the year, which is just amazing. Let's see. Melbourne, no, this is PM. Almanac rain. Hold on. Almanac rain. Let me just pull this. Okay. So Daytona, since we're here, let's just look at like yesterday, almost an inch of rain in Daytona Beach, but you're still at almost 10 inches of rain behind, right? Let's see. Daytona, MCO PM. This is Melbourne AM. Yeah, so just kind of looking around. Yeah. Same idea for Melbourne. Obviously, didn't get any rain yesterday. So that's where we're at. Now, in terms of today's rainfall, here's the rainfall chances across central Florida. Happy to report the rain chances are high, right? Let's take a look at Futurecast. I have not had like but a tiny sip of coffee, so I'm not on. All right, it's warming up. We're gonna get to the point where I can start pounding that drink. All right, so 8 o'clock in the morning, relatively quiet. Notice by 12:30, 1 p.m., starting to see some rains there on the East Coast, just like we saw yesterday, right? 2, 3 o'clock, starting to work inland little by little. 3:30, 4 p.m., heavy downpours downtown up to the north, Volusia, Seminole, Northern Lake, into Flagler counties. And notice as that axis of heavy stuff works inland, it doesn't move out of those earlier rained areas. It just kind of sits there and sits there. And what we end up with is, again, kind of this lack of upper level flow. So you've just got rain and rain and rain. There's 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock. Yeah. Rain and rain and rain. So how much rain are we talking? Give me a minute. I'll find the button. We have so many Futurecast products. Extended rainfall. Rainfall. All right. So for today, here's what Futurecast is saying. Yeah, spots with 3 to 5 inches. Don't necessarily pay attention to like exactly where you're talking 3 to 5 inches, but just there are going to be some spots for today that'll get 3 to 5 inches. Now, if we were to take that and go even further out, right, into Saturday and even into Sunday morning, what you end up with is the computer model saying that there are even some spots that over the next few days, and I love that that's where I live in that red dot. Like, love that. 8 to 12. So you could be talking about another foot of rain. And this brings me to the next discussion point that Manolfi and I had, because this is what weather nerds talk about when they're in the weather center together, which is, man, if we end up with a tropical system coming over us, there's gonna be some problems. Thankfully, I'm not like saying that there's going to be a tropical system heading our way. However, there are some things to monitor in the tropics. And I see Cam has not updated this graphic, so we're going to work on this together. All right, so the 8 o'clock tropical weather outlook has come out, and there are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas to watch. So give me a second. I need to put the 5th one on here, so we're going to work on this together. Ignore these percentages for a minute. I need to do them. All right, so that one is 0 and 30, so that's fine. The one in the northern Gulf Coast is 10 and 10. Give me a minute. 10. I'll help Cam out here. 10 and 10. The one off the coast of the Outer Banks is 20 and 20. 20 and 20. This is how the sausage is made. 0 and 10. The area in the central Atlantic, and then 10 and 20. Okay, all right. So there we are. So five areas to watch in the open Atlantic, right? There you go. What's interesting is that we could get into a situation where we don't have a tropical thing over us, but tropical moisture over us. And that's kind of what some of the models are showing. So first off, 5 areas to watch in the tropics. And since I just updated it, I'll tweet the dang thing out. All right, coffee's getting warm. Now I'm able to drink this. B says the Hurricane Center is dying to name a fake subtropical storm. As long as they don't do it. All right, hold on. I'm going to tweet this. Because it's 5. And because I updated it, and I'm going to tell the web people. All right. New NHC update shows 5 areas of interest in the tropics. However, thankfully, all have a low-end chance of formation. All right, and let me send a quick email. Bear with me. Web. Five areas. Just posted to my social, but wanted to let you know, period. There are now 5 areas of interest in the tropics. Okay. Okay. There we are. So, what Manolfi said yesterday, which I thought was so interesting, is like, when was the last, and this is genuine, and if I know some of y'all, and I'm looking at you, Matt, because you're the king nerd. Also, Matt, my picture has been printed. I need to go get it. Maybe I'll get it today. When was the last time you saw 5 areas of interest in the tropics and none of them were invests? That's an interesting thought. I couldn't tell you the last time that happened. We have none. We have no invests with 5 areas of interest. Now, our concern for Florida is this idea that we could end up with this weak, sloppy thing over top of us that ends up just throwing moisture. And enter our surface map. Okay? Awesome. We don't have any precipitation on it. Cool. That's another problem I'll figure out at work. But notice front, area of low pressure. Front still over top of us. Front still over top of us. So we end up with, through Sunday and frankly beyond, we end up these next few days with a significant opportunity for rainfall. Look at the rain chances. Normal's like 40, 50%. But here we are, right? So let's call a spade here. We have an opportunity to get some significant rains. So let's do this. Let's look at the tropics, but let's not just look at the tropics for hurricane development. Okay? Let's also look at the tropics for this idea of moisture in Florida, understanding that moisture in Florida may not be great. All right, so here we are. And right off the bat, what you see is an area of low pressure developing off the coast of Texas, an area of low pressure developing kind of off the coast of the Outer Banks. Okay, and thus going back to the box here. Oh, wrong graphic. Stand by. This is why Coffee Talk is not for the big leagues, because it is not professional. There you go. Going back to the map, it's like, I feel like air traffic control at Kennedy Airport, like Kennedy Tower, clear for runway, blah, no delay on the roll, you know, like you got a bunch of stuff going on. Oh, now we're hot. Now we're good. Now the coffee is good. Now we can drink it. So, okay, that's where we're at. All right. So, let's go back to the model data and let's just roll through and see where we're at. All right, so you got that thing off the coast. You got, see, this is where it gets worrisome. So watch Texas. You see how lowering pressure around the panhandle of Florida. It's just sitting. It's sitting through Sunday. So you've got that energy from the Gulf Coast all the way to Florida. And that's going to make us wet. Like, that's going to throw a bunch of rain. Do you have your coffee in a warmer? I do. I do have my coffee in a warmer, yeah. Brian, Florida on YouTube says, be careful on folks from wanting all this rain. I know. This could turn out to be rough real quick. So no significant development, right? No significant development, thankfully. All right, we'll roll through here. But right there, September 14th-ish, there is something forming. Notice kind of around the 13th, 14th, you've got something forming and working to the Big Bend. You got something off the coast of the Outer Banks there. So there's definitely little hints at some actual formation. So let's keep that 14th in mind. A little something there around Texas, around the 18th. And that's as far as the GFS goes. Now, in discussing the 14th, this is just the GFS, right? If we come back here, and it's just the model, but remember that like around this time period, it's a little early. You really need it to be later, but this is the Debbie part of the pattern. So kind of Florida Big Bend area is not crazy to expect something to form, but all right, we'll go with that for that. All right, that's the GFS. Let's come over to the GFS ensembles. If you're new to Coffee Talk, think of the GFS as ensemble as a way to look at the GFS 30 different ways. These are your raw ensemble panels. Of course, we don't really look at it like that. We just put everything on top of itself. That way we can get an idea. There's definitely some ensemble support for lowering pressure in the Gulf of Mexico. Nothing too strong, thankfully. Around the 13th, something in the Gulf. And then look at that. And then out east of us, yeah, something there. All right, so that's that. All right, let's look at the European raw model data, the deterministic. Throwing a bunch of low pressure and like some impulses of energy over Florida. That's always fun. A little something coming in. You look at that out near the Bahamas. You see that? The 10th, the 11th, the 12th. What are you doing? What are you doing, you little bugger? 50 Shades of Spaghetti. That's funny. I've never heard it called that before. That's funny. All right, so that's interesting. Europeans showing that. The GFS is not. Interesting. And then a decent little front around the 18th, 19th, according to the Euro. Let's look at the Euro AI model. Developing. So this is interesting. Like, let's just take a step back. So Here we are now. You've got that thing off the coast of the Carolinas. This is tonight at 8 p.m. You've got the thing off the coast of the Carolinas. You got the thing off the coast of like Texas, Louisiana. And then along this front, it's firing up another low, kind of northeast of Florida, riding that out, developing something out around the Bay of Campeche, dumping that into Louisiana by next Thursday. Interesting. B says, just admit if we have to say 6 name storms, heads will roll at NHC. I don't work at NHC, man. I don't know. That's not my ball game. I put out a forecast. Forecasting is hard. It is what it is. All right, European ensembles. I'll go back to the beginning. Same idea as the GFS. You've got 50 flavors of this one. All right. We'll dump them on top of each other. Definitely some ensemble support for development off the coast of the Outer Banks and into the Gulf of Mexico the next couple of days. Right? Nothing too strong, thankfully, in the Gulf. Interesting that, like, if we look the September 10th, 11th time frame, there's some ensemble support for something kind of a homegrown deal around us. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, if we go to the basin view here, like there's things are popping up in the Gulf, and then you got things in the open Atlantic. So things are trying to wake up. So then it makes me wonder, like, let's look at the Madden-Julian oscillation overall, okay? The MJO, and right now, just looking at it, Browns over the Gulf, the Caribbean, the Atlantic. That means we're out of phase. Notice the Pacific is in phase, and that's why the Pacific is getting storms. But if we look at our basin view, notice that September 7th and 8th, we start to see some greens. It's not like crazy optimal, but you start to get some opportunity for homegrown areas. This weekend into early next week, the Gulf and the Caribbean go in phase a little bit. And then the coast of Africa around the 15th goes in phase. Fairly hostile territory for a while. But maybe we start to get back to an environment where you could see some formation. So um, it's been very, very quiet. I'm not complaining. But for now, there are 5 areas to watch, none of which thankfully are big threats to us. But you can clearly see there are models showing stuff. It's very chaotic, it's fairly weak. Um, but it's stuff for us for sure to be watching. And we'll watch and see how that works. B says Wilma formed. Yeah, Wilma formed in October. We've had Nicole, which moved through in November. Like, storms can happen on many months of the year. As a matter of fact, we have had a named system every single month of the calendar year. So just understand that, right? But don't sleep on what's going on here in the Gulf. It's an old front, the area of low pressure here. Cam's still typing. It says text line and text line, but ignore that for a moment. And just like watch how there's a lot of moisture. And while the center of that moisture may be over near Texas, obviously here in Florida, we've got a lot of moisture as well. So that's where we're at, friends. Okay. And looking longer range, right? Just as the models show, there's a pretty decent opportunity for tropical development down the way. All right. So, questions, comments, concerns about where we sit tropically, where we sit with our local forecasts. There's a lot going on. Kathy's asking, is it too early to look at the BSR? No, we can look at that. We looked at it a couple of days ago. Give me a second to get it popped up here. All right. Maps. Let me get this set up. All right. So, for those of you who are new to this, the BSR it's like a teleconnection. What we're actually doing is looking around the Bering Sea and the Bering Strait. If I remove this frame, What you're actually looking at is Alaska and all that. And there's a forecaster that kind of came up with this idea of a teleconnection. It's fascinating. It's not perfect. Nothing in weather is perfect, but as long as you know what you're looking at, you can kind of try and take some teleconnections. So this is August 24th. Yes, it's the past, but based on August the 24th, that would teleconnect forward to being about about next Tuesday. Front still hanging out. You notice it's kind of got that front around, so front still hanging out. Decent little front here. That would be the 13th. That would be September the 13th, which is Friday the it's Friday the 13th. Creepy. Decent little front. Little area of low pressure though coming in from the Gulf. You saw that? And then look at this. That's September 1st. That's the 18th. So that's September 18th. So the BSR would indicate an area of low pressure coming through around September 18th, which if you look at our long range hurricane forecast, I believe that lines up with a part of the pattern. Gulf to Carolinas low, the Debbie part of the pattern. What was that? September 18th, the BSR showed it. So that'd be a little early, but that fits that part of the weather pattern. So that'll be interesting to see if that ends up wanting to play out. Let's continue on. All right. And then that moves off the shoreline, goes up the East Coast, and high pressure builds in for us. What is today? Is the 5th. That's as far out as it goes. And then beyond that, we can kind of cheat a little bit and look at the GFS model up there and kind of get an idea, just, looking ahead. Hold on, let me refresh you. All right. Just to look. A little front there. That's September 12th. That's like September 29th in actuality. Couple of fronts rolling through, y'all. Yeah. All right. So around the 18th, we'll certainly have to watch. It fits the Debbie part of the pattern. Super early. Super early. These are just teleconnections, but it's at least something to watch. But for now, we've got 5 areas, none of which are like major concerns. So that's the good news. All right. All right. We did talk about this though, and we're not going to back down. Okay. It's going to be wet. It's going to be stormy. Flooding is a concern. Today's impact weather for that. I mean, my house got over 5 inches of rain in the last 24 hours time, and I'm sure many other areas got the same. So, yeah, just take it easy, people. Right? All right. Questions, comments, concerns. Rain chance goes down like a touch this weekend and then back up into next week. A lot of moisture. A lot of moisture around. All right. Questions, comments, concerns. I think I'm doing West 2 News at noon today, so that'll be fun. Flying out on the 19th. Hopefully that can happen. Yeah. Why is Chiefland in your West 2 coverage area? I don't think it is. Yeah, Terry. Terry says Melbourne got 0 rain. So let's pop up the rain box. And we're just going to do rainfall the last 24 hours. Give me a second. Rainfall. 24 hours time. Yeah, look at that. Melbourne got nothing. Isn't that frustrating? Tourist district got some. There's definitely a bullseye, like right at my house, and then over on the west coast. And there was a really good flooding. I say really good. There's a really big flooding event as well here in Pinellas County, as well, even more than we got. As a matter of fact, what's that purple dot? Maybe not more than we got, but yeah, 6, 7 inches of rain. That's wild. Florida can handle a lot of water. Usually. Usually do pretty good. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. Rainy and moist. It's a swampy day. It's a swampy day. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that, Cindy. That was what made me run over to Pinellas on the radar. Port Orange still 0. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I as long as you know I don't control it. As long as you know I don't control the weather. What do you mean you don't control the weather? All right, people. That's all I got. That's all I got. So today, Wesh 2 News at noon. I'll see you there. Oh, and for those of you asking about cold fronts and things like that, 18 days until the official start of fall. And you know when we talk about the first front, just to, you know, make mention of it at least. The first sub 70-degree morning is typically today. Had to mention that. Obviously, it's not happening today. Typically is today. Last year, it was at the very end of September. And looking long range, there are some hints of that. Hopefully. All right. Anyway, be the sunshine in someone else's day. I'll see you all on Wesh 2 News at noon. Sound good? Take care.